Welcome to the Manna at the Tap podcast, where we as a community actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. I'm Gloria, your fellow traveler on this spiritual journey. Together, we can guide each other, offering and receiving insights and interpretations from our daily lectionary readings that provide the manna designed to nurture our spiritual growth. Tuesday, July the 9th, 2024, is the seventh week after Pentecost, and we're continuing to explore the Old Testament book of 2 Samuel chapter 5, and today we're going to be covering verses 11 to 16. We've journeyed with David from his humble beginnings as a teenage boy, caring for his father's sheep and living the life of a shepherd. He is selected and secretively anointed to be Saul's replacement as king. But for now, he has become a member of Saul's household in the position of a musician who plays music to soothe Saul's emotional outbreaks. As Saul's mental health deteriorated, he became paranoid and he vented his anger at David in jealousy because the women said, as they sang, played, and danced, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000. Saul's son Jonathan admired David. They became like brothers and loved each other. David was grateful that Jonathan played a significant role in protecting him when he was a fugitive running from King Saul. The time finally came when Saul and his sons were dead, and David was anointed and consolidated the 10 tribes in the north, known as Israel, and the 2 tribes in the south, known as Judah, into one nation. David then moved his home to a new location named Jerusalem and took up residence in the fortress there and named it after himself. He called it the City of David. This establishment was a new beginning for the nation under one leader, David, who became increasingly powerful because he said that the Lord God Almighty was with him. Israel had longed for a kingdom since they asked Samuel for a king. They wanted a king to secure their military position, improve their economic situation, and give them a political position among the other nations surrounding them. Now, the nation of Israel was like the nations around them. They had achieved the status they dreamed about. But now another nation abruptly appears on the horizon. It is Hiram, king of Tyre. His name means most noble, highborn. He's very wealthy, and his kindness draws David in. He sent gifts of cedar to David, along with the skilled workers and the materials to transform the city of Jerusalem into a beautiful place. David is no longer running from Saul with his band of 600 army men. He's now receiving ambassadors from another kingdom. A change is taking place in David, though it is subtle in its beginnings. David, who was in a faith relationship with the Lord and would ask what his next move should be, seems to be slipping away from that. Hiram is replacing that friendship between David and the Lord, and we're watching a slow, slippery slope downward for David. Hiram embodies what is most successful in the world: commercialism. He also represents what was most dangerous for Israel: self-sufficiency. The relationship and the trading empire between Hiram and David extended to David's son Solomon. David cannot see the danger and is unaware of the alliance with Hiram's kingdom. He can still see that the Lord has made him king, and he knows his success is the Lord's doing, but his faith in the Lord is in a critical position. He has jeopardized the relationship because he's now on his way from being a shepherd with sheep to being on his way to trade, affluence, and self-sufficiency. The narrator places this vignette in the life of David here to help us see the slippery slope we can find ourselves on. We know what God has done for us, but we often align ourselves with the Hirams of the world, who begin to impact our lives without us being aware of what is happening. The call today is beware of your influencers. David is acting like a king. He already had many wives, but now as king, he's added concubines. He's beginning the practice of sexual politics. The sexual abuse done to Bathsheba years later had its beginning here as his sexual appetite was awakened. In a quick scan of the list of his children, we find Solomon, who will walk in his father's footsteps, continuing the relationship with Hiram and accumulating more wives and concubines than his father David. David's power has indeed expanded.